As you come in, if you put yourself on the video or the camera, that would be awesome. Just like yesterday, if you were here yesterday, that made interaction just a lot easier, a lot better. So thank you for doing that. All right, got a couple more. Hey, Gina, how are you? Ron, Elise.
Good afternoon.
Hello, hello. You are front and center on my screen, Gina, so it's a nice smiley face. It's good to see you again.
Thank you so much. I just got out of one Zoom meeting, so I'm readjusting.
All right. You have the Zoom live. All right.
The Zoom live.
Well, Beth, you start and just let people come in.
That's me.
All right, Marissa, if you'll just keep letting folks in as we go. Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. Again, Mark Warner from Indiana Bond Bank, and here to support Beth Woods from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Beth and I worked together, gosh, probably more years back than I'd like to think now. It's been a little bit of time, but we worked together for a couple of years. And Beth, in addition to Director of Operations role for the Lieutenant Governor for the entire state of Indiana, which is a big role in of itself, has facilitated numerous continuous improvement, rapid improvement event sessions across state agencies. And Beth's a great teacher, very personable, and has kindly agreed to join us today to share some of her insight and knowledge, and on the theme of big ideas start as weird ideas, which is perfect, I think. So I will turn the share screen on. Beth, again, thank you. And you are here with some bond bank staff, some Flipping Finance Challenge innovators. I see at least a couple of one of our community members, Mayor Vonderheid from Jasper, is on to learn more. So you've got a good mix of folks.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Mark.
Absolutely.
It is nice to virtually meet everyone. As Mark said, we're going to get this presentation started. It's about weird ideas, and I know that might maybe that's just intriguing. How to get weird and unstuck. What do we mean when we say get weird? Maybe we actually mean think weird. Have you ever heard the phrases think outside the box or think bigger? I'm sure you have, probably 100 or so times. Has anyone ever provided you instructions on how to actually get that done? In this very short time we have together, Mark and I want to leave you with not just the concepts. Oh, there we go. Not just the concepts of thinking bigger. We want to actually leave you with tools so that you can take and help generate those out of the box type of ideas. Thinking weird might be just the key you need to thinking big. If you can go to the next slide. So some say weird, we say creative. Why do you think sometimes you struggle at creative thinking and ideation or idea generation, if you want to use a couple words? I would say we normally get in our own way, judging ideas too quickly, afraid of judgment from others. There's some safety in the familiar. We tend to want to keep ideas to ourselves until they're fully vetted. Sometimes that means we're going to vet them to death. The dead ideas are not good ideas. They're just dead ideas. We want to stay on our lane, making things the same as they've always been. Now, we don't want to make them that way, but when we feel comfort in that same lane, we know it, we understand it, we're going to keep driving in it. The problem is when we stay in the same lane, we always get to the same destination. We want to keep this in mind as we go through this presentation. we're going to start off with this 3-minute individual breakout session. And we're doing this right at the beginning to kind of get all of our minds rolling. This 3 minutes, you'll have 3 minutes to decide to come up with as many ideas as you possibly can on how to use a brick. And I know that that sounds odd, but I want everybody to kind of take the judgment out of your mind and come up with as many ideas as possible.
I'll start the timer. I see we got some folks already writing down, so.
Oh, yeah, no
Oh,
cheating. We're
I
not
know,
ready.
Count of 3, 2, 1. So 3 minutes. Start ideating. Go. Can hum the Jeopardy tune for 3 minutes.
Should I write them in the chat or ideas?
Just write them down on a piece of paper. Maybe I should have told you to have something ready.
Type them or, yep,
Write them, type them, whatever.
on
Yeah,
your
whatever
personal. Yep.
tools you have at your disposal.
Have 70 seconds left. Does 3 minutes feel long? It'll be interesting to hear how this feels when we're at the end. So 60 seconds. And seconds for whatever final ideas you got. Jot them down. All right,
Should be done.
that is it.
All right. Next slide, please.
Yep.
So how many ideas did you guys come up with? Unmute. You can throw out some numbers.
Who was 0 to 10? Let's do ranges maybe to start with. Who had 0 to 10?
I did. I had 0 to 10.
Gina had 0 to 10.
Okay.
Who
At
had
0 to 10.
who had
Tracy.
who had 10 to 15?
At 10 to 15.
Who had 15 to 20?
Right here.
Travis Richards.
Anybody have more than 20? Travis, how many did you have in total?
I had 17.
Very good. What was some of the most creative or weird ideas that you came up with?
So I just listed all the ways I have used bricks in the past. I have used them to hold up chicken water so that the water doesn't get dirty. Elevator, doorstop, a tarp hold down, a hammer, a step stool, a chalk block, a garden row marker. I mean, I could go on.
Okay, no, that's
I have a
good.
large- I have a large pile of bricks, so I use them all the time.
Did anybody have some ideas that Travis didn't come up with?
I use fitness equipment.
What?
Fitness equipment.
It,
I have a pencil holder.
Ah, I like it.
I have a grill.
Okay, yeah,
So
Tell me more about
heating-
that.
Just using it either, I mean, if you're in Arizona, you can throw a egg on a rock, so you can throw an egg on a brick at some point on the side. But like even using it in conjunction with like fire to be able to heat it and to be able to use it to either smoke meat on top or to put items down in there as well.
How cool would that be?
That's really cool.
Yeah. The Arizona grill.
I had it as a traffic light representation.
Oh, so you turned it, so that's really interesting. I think Beth will get into this, but even thinking about how you're visualizing it, so Gina turns it on its end and then comes up with traffic light representation. Did anybody else do anything where you're maybe looking at it not kind of as the image lays it out horizontally? Anybody think about it as a vertical shape?
I didn't think about it as vertical, but I thought about it in pieces.
Okay, so Elizabeth, tell me about like in pieces.
I was
We didn't
just
say it
gonna,
had to be an intact brick, right? Tell me about.
yeah,
what
I
you
was just
thought.
gonna smash it and do like a mosaic art piece.
That's awesome. Very
I-
cool.
I said you could use that as gravel.
Gravel, yeah. Lucas, same concept of, yeah, deconstructing it.
I went to the other side as well and used it as a weapon.
okay.
So
I mean, dark, but good. It is a way.
I wrote down an encourager, but I didn't really want to bring that up. But since you are,
So along those same lines.
That's
So-
fast.
Were there any ideas that you considered writing down and then decided not to?
I put like way down stuff, like somebody else had said tarp, but I'd also used it as a paperweight. So I didn't know if that was still too similar. Just like weighing down all the different, I mean, because you can weigh down a tarp, weigh down a plant, whatever you want to weigh down, right? So there's almost endless possibilities for that portion of it.
There are, and that part, that is a different idea. Each idea is a different idea. Each variation of the idea is its own idea. So that's very good. Did you guys find it hard to put your own judgment aside? Now, I know that this is just a 3-minute exercise with a brick. But I also know that sometimes when you are generating ideas or trying to generate ideas, we start to second guess ourselves. So did anybody find themselves doing that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My first option was to break a window, and then I thought about using it as a weapon. And I thought everyone might think I'm crazy if I put them both.
That's
Same here,
exactly,
So I
Yeah.
didn't.
same here,
Fine.
Regina.
that, I understand why you would think maybe others might think that, but I think we do that all the time when we are idea generating. The idea of somebody hearing what we are going to come up with our idea and what judgment comes with that, either from ourselves or for somebody else. Very good. Mark, can you?
Yep. Click over to gosh, I'm failing at this job. As in most things, but yeah.
So I'm sure there are more, but we have come up with 8 rules on that you need to live by when generating ideas. So the first one For 7, all ideas are good ideas, even the weird ideas. Even the ideas you would say are, oh, these are bad ideas. All ideas are good ideas. Don't ever worry about being right. Throw logic out the window. Don't interrupt yourself. Interrupting means you are second guessing, which is rule number 5, no second guessing. Reach for the radical or wildest ideas. And number 7, have fun. If you aren't laughing at least some of the ideas that you are writing down, you might be holding on to things. You might be squashing your own idea generation. The number 8 rule number 8.
Yep, that's my cue.
Yeah. Quantity is king. This might be one of the most important rules. All of those other rules you have to put in place in order to support rule number 8. Rule number 8, quantity is king. You want as many ideas in the time period you have to generate them as you can get. You never know which ones are going to stick. You never know which ones someone else is going to take a part of, or you'll find later on down the road that you can build upon it. So you want to stop all judgment, as we said before, and get as many ideas down as you possibly can. So there are a few ways that you can do this. But we'll talk about a few of them. Challenge yourself to a blitz. So how many in a specific amount of time? For those of us that are competitive in spirit, this might work really well for you. So put 30 seconds on the board. Here's your question. And then write down as many as you can. Then reset your timer and see if you can beat yourself with more. If you came up with 15 the first time, you want to beat it, you came up with 17 the next time, you've now generated over 30 ideas in a minute. Think of pictures using your 5 senses. Think in pictures using your 5 senses. Put what we know, what we can touch, what we can feel, what we can see into your idea generation. Build, build, build. Take the unexpected idea and twist it, shape it, hone it, make it look a little different. You can take a piece of one idea and start building on it with other ideas. Just like with the brick, and Mark pointed this out very well, I think it was Gina who turned it the other direction, and now it's a stoplight. Now it looks totally different than it did sitting on the table this flat. So take your ideas, and it might not be as simple as a brick, but twist them and turn them and come at them from a different direction. And every time you have a variation of that idea, it's a brand new idea. If you're sharing some of these, if you're brainstorming, idea generating with a group of people, then something that you say, it's going to click something different in their brain than it did in yours. You're going down one path, their brain goes down another. It's just how we are, we're humans. We're going to take our own personal experiences or whatever, and we're going to add to it. And so they might take something else and then they're going to build in a different direction. If we gave you house plans right now and said, sheet of paper and said, build your house plan, everyone's would look a little bit different. We might all end up saying having 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a roof, but the layout will be different. Where the bathroom is, how big the bathroom is, how big the kitchen is, all of that would be different because we're going to bring our own wants or our own experiences to that design. The last thing is, again, have fun. I don't know, we're going to say this 1,000 times. Have fun, have fun, have fun. Brainstorming is one of my favorite things to do because it is fun. It takes it takes maybe more of an analytical problem, and we throw creativity at it, and we come up with an amazing array of different ideas.
Maybe we can, maybe just a perfect hands-on, Beth, as we're on slide 8. Jennifer suggested something with the brick, and let's just open it up and people can come off the mic and we'll just practice, maybe like the build. Let's just build on an idea. So
It's a good idea.
Jennifer, I heard you say like, use the brick as fitness equipment. And so to Beth's point, that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So let's generate ideas off of that. So what are ways that we might use the brick as fitness equipment? Just come off the mic and shout something out. And don't block yourself.
Use it like a dumbbell.
Use it like a dumbbell. What else?
Step aerobics.
Okay. Yeah.
Weighted vest for running.
Ooh, weighted vest for running. Yeah. What
I was
else?
gonna say calf raises similar to the step aerobics.
Different. Yeah, that's right. That's great.
You can put it on a wall and use it as like a pull-up type bar.
Oh, like a little, almost, yeah, you could do like a little rock climbing or rock climber exercise, get your grip strength. Nice.
Elevated push-ups.
Elevated push-ups, yeah. DeAndre going?
If you hold on tightly enough, instead of doing those kettlebell swings, you could do the brick swings.
I like that.
Yeah.
You say you could throw it with others like a medicine ball.
Yeah.
Brick tossing.
Brick tossing.
Yeah. And so right there in 20 seconds, we probably got 8 ideas, which may be more than some of you were able just to get kind of off the bat on your own in 3 minutes. And it was, again, just a simple, in that case, we just built on, Jennifer, you may have had in mind like fitness equipment. Oh, I mean, clearly, I don't know, dumbbells or something, or barbells. And then you throw it out to the group, and I think we had 8 different people throw in different things. So whether you're doing that solo or you're doing that with a team, that's a fun one. If somebody can identify, if the answer is, hey, let's paint it, obviously you could go in a million different directions. And the other thing, sometimes we hear, I think, like weighing something down, weigh down a tarp, weigh down newspapers, weigh down whatever. So you guys think is it cheating to just start listing all the different things you could weigh down? I mean, do you guys feel like that's cheating just to generate ideas? Could weigh down infinite things.
No, because each of those you could build into something else.
Tell me more about that, Travis. What are you thinking?
You can hold down a piece of paper. Oh, well, what about the paper trail? You can hold down a tarp. Well, tarp generates a whole other set of ideas. You can hold down a person while they're trying to do push-ups. Well, that's a whole nother area you might think about.
Exactly right. Exactly right. In fact, I was going to say that if the bricks were heavy enough, you could just use those to hold down your feet to do push-ups.
Yeah, and I'd add to that, Travis, yes, and that, the more things we can think of that it would hold down, the way it's holding it down could change as well, right? Like with a tarp, maybe you've tied the string around the brick, maybe it's just sitting on the tarp. So I think that also would help generate some potential ideas on how it's being used to hold something down.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just thought about like those Mylar balloons, the helium balloons, like you could use that, the brick as so yeah, that just shoots us off in a different direction. Really cool. Thanks for letting me just break off there, Beth, and dive into these skills. You want to go to the next, you want me to go to the next slide?
Sure. So pro tip number 1 is no whammies. And most people you would probably hear call these killer phrases, but as we were putting this together in my head, when I got to this, as I was thinking about it, the little whammy guys came into my head. So now these are whammies to me. Whammies are stoppers. They're those I can'ts and I won'ts, and we've never done it this way before, that become our own stoppers. So if you look at just a few of these, it costs too much, it's too expensive. As soon as we say that we've killed anything that costs money, we've never done it that way. That was a great one. Obviously, if the way we're doing it, we're looking for solutions around that, we should never ever say the words, well, we've always done it though. But simple things that you'll hear, dude, really, come on, you know, those judgment calls. Can we think of other ones that we don't have listed here? Because the list is probably endless. Can we come up with other ones that you guys have heard or said?
I like your comment, Travis. The boss will never agree to that. Sounds like a response to Brian's idea of a birthday present to your boss.
Yeah, boss will never agree to that.
That's right.
Get you a nice brick next year, Mark.
I would appreciate it. That would, hey, that's another idea. Birthday gift for me.
When's your
Use
birthday?
it
I can use
as
it in
doorstep.
infinite ways. March
You
11th.
could.
I think one of them we
Great.
see a lot is we don't have the skill set for that.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. Gina, I see you nodding your head. Do you have?
Yeah, I was thinking that I really like the one that was just, we don't have the skill sets. Thinking along that same line, that's just way too out of our scope. You know, that's not our lane, like you said. That's not what we're supposed to be about.
Oh, that's good.
So these killer phrases or whammies, we want no whammies. They shut down our creativity really quickly. They also, and not just this one time. I mean, if you're doing a project and you guys are, and people are brainstorming, you're sitting around the table and you start to hear these things or you start to say these things, the next project you're working on, those already live there. And you have to erase them before you can actually start generating those ideas. So they kill not just the moment today, but those types of phrases and those types of thoughts resonate and they stay with us. So they tend to, they just keep giving us back, giving back and giving back something we don't actually want. These are game enders, not game changers.
And the elephant is a real, you might be looking at the elephant and whammy in that. So that came out of a session I was facilitating at one point, and I think the challenge is around pretty simple, like how might we keep our kids occupied this summer? And somebody said, well, I'm an elephant. And right immediately Practical Pig comes out like, well, expensive zoological laws, what, there's probably code you can't have.
They don't make pooper scoopers that big.
Right. So all of a sudden it's like, and so we just kind of stopped and reframe and realized what we were doing, because there's a time for that. And there's a time certainly to figure out which ideas you want to move forward with. But for the purpose of generating quantity, an elephant is an idea. And it's a perfectly excellent idea for how to keep kids occupied in the summer. Because what that did, once we kind of clear the air, the next person said, well, I think about an elephant, I think of like the trunk as a slide. So what if you get him a slide? And then somebody said, I think about an elephant, and I think the elephant trunk, the word trunk, I think trunks like suitcases, take a trip, like pack some trunks and go on a trip. And so if you kind of allow the judgment to happen at the same time as ideation, you don't get the slide, maybe eventually get the slide, maybe eventually get the vacation. But when you're in the space together with your team or by yourself, allow yourself the willingness to write the elephant down and not have somebody say, dude, an elephant, like, can't do it for all these reasons. Because there's a time for me, there's certainly a time for that, but I don't know if that little anecdote makes sense, but that's on there because that's a real example. And we really did generate cool stuff after that, once we allow that to just sit.
When I think of the elephant, I think of memory, and
Oh,
let's make a summer full of memories for our kids.
elephants never forget. I like that.
Sorry, I had to share it because it came to my mind.
Yeah.
It's not the problem we're solving today, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Jason, did you have something?
I did. I was just, had feel willing to, compelled to share just a thought that popped in while you were talking of, what the, even some of these bad ideas, like it's funny to think of, giving a brick as a gift, but right, I'm sure, race fans would love getting a memorial brick from the Speedway for a present, right? So a brick literally can be a very impactful gift. On the surface, of course, an image of a basic brick doesn't mean anything, right? It's kind of like coal in your stocking, but bricks can certainly be used as a valuable gift.
I like that.
Yes.
And a different way to think about it. We have names and bricks in in the sidewalk, and which also then leads to the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and those same things. That one idea has led people to a different place to think of a different solution or idea. So
There's certainly technical terms, but I mean, you get fluid thinking, which we're kind of doing now, of like the tarp to the newspaper to hold down, right? That's kind of fluid thinking. And then you have flexible thinking, which I think is a great example. Turned it on its head. Elizabeth blew it up and deconstructed it. So kind of being flexible in your thinking and then fluid in your thinking. You can do those two things, and no whammies. You're well on your way. Any other thoughts on this slide before we advance?
So how do we handle whammies? Because we know they're out there, but like we talked about before, they follow you from one idea generating session to the next if you don't find ways to deal with them. And they don't always come from us. So what do we do when someone else is the one throwing out whammy after whammy in a group? What are some ideas of what we could do?
Well, I put it in the chat, but I'm one for always asking about the action items or next steps, because we leave ideation meetings all the time and there's never an action item attached to it, or plans of action. I guess we could just sum it up to say, so with some of these whammies, at the end of it, always ask for what are next steps, or what are the action items, because you'll come back to that meeting and it's like everyone's looking around like what we're supposed to do, because no one stepped up to say, here's what we need to have accomplished before we come back in 3 weeks.
That's a very, very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, the ideas have to, or something has to follow the idea. You could, throw out the elephant, pare it all the way down to something fantastic, but then if you don't take the actions to make that happen, or don't have a plan to make that happen, yep, I would agree with that. But back to the whammies in the idea generating session. Say we're in one, and a coworker of yours, every time you say something, they say one of those phrases. We can't do it that way. We don't have time to get it done that way. It's not budgeted for this year. Those types of things. What tools could we do, or what things could we do prior to the meeting, during the meeting, to kind of put those to rest?
And say, Beth, you and I have kind of worked on some of the continuous improvement stuff. So I'm going to go back to like the facilitation of like having those ground rules in the beginning of like, this is an open space, it's a safe space. But then my favorite response is, it's like, okay, well, you've always done it this way, but if you could have your dream, future state, what does this look like? What, if there were no limitations, what would it look like to you, to kind of like break down those barriers?
Yep.
I love the idea of like ground rules are as easy as you get the slide deck after this, you print off the prior slide, say, hey, let's just, as a team, we're going to be in this space together and let's just agree none of these things are going to come out of our mouth, or we're going to recognize that they do, and we're just going to quickly plow through. So ground rules can be as easy, as Elizabeth said, as simply that of just coming in, recognizing. Travis, I think you're off mute. You have something?
Well, always you could use the brick, but my favorite method is just asking why, because it forces people to think about what they're saying and ask why many times, as many times as it takes to get to the root cause.
And you can have fun with it too. Like, again, if your group is more laid back, easygoing, like you can make it a game out of it. So it's like kind of like the back in the day Pee-wee's Playhouse, like the word of the day was scream. Like if you hear those phrases, touch your nose, and like everybody kind of like says like, oh, we're getting down in that like more conservative path. Like let's open up again. So
Yeah, I like that. You have a whole group running around like this.
I think ground rules are important, and then identifying it, like we call it like spaghetti throwing sessions here, right? So like we're just throwing it and seeing what sticks, right? We don't know what's going to fall off or whatnot. So why discount anything before we throw it all at the wall? Because that's actually a second session for us. Here's everything we can. And then the second session comes down to, okay, now we can talk about why this would work, why you wouldn't think this would work. But we just set them down. We said it as if you had unlimited budgets and unlimited persons, and what is out there for us, right? Then we can parse it down later.
Right. Setting the scene of expectations, whether it's ground rules or ground rules plus kind of laying it out, saying this is the sky's the limit type of deal, or even saying someone, you're required to throw out something so bizarre. Each person has to throw out one thing that's just what seems like it's an asinine thing to say. Like we never do that. Like the elephant. Like we're not going to get an elephant to watch our children during the summer, but you have to say that to lead to something else. So having those expectations on the front side makes it a lot easier to deal with the negative that comes during the session, and then it's handled in a positive way, in a fun way, whether we're putting our fingers on our nose or we're pointing to it, or just simply saying, but remember, the sky's the limit. We could do anything we want.
Yes, and I think Jennifer, I want to just highlight what you said, is really leveraging your agenda. So if people know there will be an opportunity, it's not now, but there will be an opportunity a little bit later to apply. I mean, the reason a lot of us are in our positions is because we're very smart, we're good at judgment, we're good at making decisions. It's our natural default, to evaluate things and make choices and move on. But weaponizing your agenda, there'll be a time for that. Almost subtly, subconsciously puts people in the space to use the first space that you're talking about the way it's meant to be used. I think that's a really good tip any of us can use.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Gina.
I also just thought of, as we're thinking here, people like food, people like money. And if you have a visual that shows a stack of dollar bills that's like $1 million, or a pie or a pizza, telling people, would you rather have the whole thing or just a slice or just a few dollar bills? Then that'll make them hopefully trigger, am I looking for the whole pie or the whole stack of money, or do I just want a slice or a dollar bill?
I love that. I love the visual that paints. It's not just words. It paints a pictures. It uses some of those other senses that we talked about, because I could probably taste that pie and I could spend that money. I already have those things listed out. So putting something visual with that, something that people could relate to, that's a fantastic idea.
Build on that. You could create a swear jar, right? If somebody says one of those things, they put a quarter in the jar. You just have a little jar, mason jar in the middle of your room, table, and there's ways you can self-regulate as a group. I think it's pretty clear that everyone's kind of coming at this from some way, but have fun. You can self-regulate, and eventually you won't need an outside person or facilitator. Somebody else in the group will say, hey, did you realize you just said, but, or good idea, or dude. So think we've got plenty of ideas on how to self-regulate. And I'm going to jump in now to pro tip number 2. And this is another very simple tip that you can use even right now in Flipping Finance Challenge stuff. And it is just based on the fact that we are like steeped in a lot of common pop culture, news, brands, just product of being in America. Songs, whatever you name it, but think about leveraging that to your advantage. And to show you what I mean here. So 1 or 2 words just off mute. When you see that brand, that logo, words that come to mind, good, bad, and just throw them out.
Self-parking.
Self-park.
Money, money, money.
Expensive.
Relaxing.
Out of space.
Innovative.
Cost saving.
Electric.
Is Elon Musk a trait?
Elon Musk is yeah, musky. All right, we'll do one more. Don't pretend you don't know who that is. Come on, Justin Bieber.
Youthful.
You can say,
Talented.
yeah,
Radical.
Needs a new hat.
Loves art.
Loves his family.
Nice. So you might be able to see where we're going with this. The application is really pretty simple. It's if you find yourself stuck, and I do this individually or as a group, you can go to, there's like randombrandgenerator.com. There's websites for everything, but you can generate a random brand and throw it out, or pick something well known and toss to the group. How would Michael Jordan solve? How would Justin Bieber, right? And each person's going to have their own, who Justin Bieber is stinks, and so it's going to be loud and obnoxious, or it's going to be, and somebody's going to think Justin Bieber is, fantastic and artful and innovative, and so people will start to attach that. And the reason it works is, right, it's easy to say to somebody, hey, let's get weird ideas out there, and then people are like, I want to, but you have these internal blocks. But if you could put yourself in, okay, I'm not Mark, I'm Elon Musk and Tesla. For some reason, right? Psychologically, that opens up your ability to think totally differently, because you're not you anymore. You're in somebody else's shoes. And if they say, gosh, that was a stupid idea, which you would whammy them, but it's not me, right? That's like Tesla did. And so let's just try this in real time. Come off mute and just let's see how this works. To give you a sense, you could use this on your Flipping Finance Challenge project. So let's throw out, take a random brand. How would Starbucks improve dorm room furniture, college dorm furniture? So think of Starbucks. And then think of what would Starbucks do to improve dorm furniture?
They'd make an easy ordering option. 2 clicks and you have a new loft bed.
What else? Great.
Put a cup holder on the side of the bed.
They would have coffee scented pillowcases.
Nice.
I
You'd
guess
be
I
able
think
to
of-
order in 3 sizes.
Order in 3 sizes. Get your venti size bed.
Grande.
Good. Jason?
Yeah, I think of the furniture in the store. So modern looking and multifunctional as far as charging and modularity, work function.
They'd give it cooler names than bunk bed and nightstand.
They'd used recycled material.
Yeah, DeAndre.
I had an idea, but I lost the cool name for it. But it was something to do with having better mattresses. I mean, it's a Starbucks brand mattress. It's going to be fluffy. It's going to be comfortable.
Yeah, somebody help him with that. This is brainstorming, iterative additive. So something spark mattresses with Starbucks. Somebody help them out.
Completely customizable to you, right? Just like a Starbucks drink. Anything you want, top, bottom. The sky's the limit, and all you got to do is pay a little extra for the add-ons.
You get the Jennifer, right? Your name could be written on the side of your bed.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm just gonna add, I've never been to Starbucks. Literally haven't.
Don't worry, I'll make up for your lack of it. I've got a problem.
So maybe Dr. Boylan has a perception of Starbucks that would influence the ideas from a different direction. Who knows? If you don't like coffee, then you got a whole different set, which is the beauty of group innovation.
Well, and what I was thinking is Starbucks seems to be so accepted by people that would people like a bunk bed better, because I don't think that looks very comfortable. Would they like it better if it was Starbucks rather than campus furniture?
So it could be the same crappy bunk bed, but Starbucks branded on it, and people might, so you could just label it. Yeah. That's an idea for sure. That is good. And so that thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down in terms of, you think you'd be able to implement something like that to your brainstorming, this concept of using a famous person or a famous brand. We could have swapped Starbucks out for, again, Tesla, something. Again, we just got, thank you, DeAndre, we had 15 ideas right there. If your challenge was to improve college dorm furniture. Elizabeth.
I love the idea because you don't even have to have like a random company. Like you can think of like another company that you idealize that has like similar values that you're wanting to like go towards. So I don't know, say again, it's Starbucks, and I like their philosophy on like how they treat their team members. And that's where I want my company to be. I can think of it like them to help improve my own workspace.
That is perfect. I think the tip I've found, especially in a group setting, the more iconic, the more, and maybe even the more controversial. So I've seen this done of like Fox, Fox News it, then let's MSNBC it, right? Things that are very have very defined perceptions or evoke very strong reactions on either side. And maybe politics isn't the right way to go, or news channels, but Nickelodeon or MTV, right? Things that are very stylized that people have strong ideas about, or either want to gravitate towards, like I want to be more like Starbucks' culture, or let's generate ideas about how, I don't know, think of the opposite of Starbucks, some slumlord company would do it. Let's generate ideas, and we know kind of what to stay away from or what we don't want our brand to look like. And so where it gets a little tricky is if somebody throws out kind of a middle of the road brand or a celebrity, and if you let it breathe for a few minutes and it kind of fizzles out, just throw another one out. Like I think that's the beauty hopefully you got from Beth and me. Like you can't really go wrong. Just keep using these tactics. All right, so we're gonna do another 3-minute breakout and just pulling together the thoughts of, allow yourself to think fluid and flexibly. Give yourself maybe a blitz. Before we get on to this 3 minutes, we can do this individually, maybe just to build on what you did on the brick. So a lot of us were in the 0 to 10 ideas range in 3 minutes for the brick. So we have 3 minutes coming up. You don't know the challenge yet, but maybe set yourself a goal of how many ideas you want to generate for this next challenge. It's not going to be the brick, it'll be something else. You've gotten a little bit of content on how to identify and diffuse whammies. You've got the, how would so-and-so solve it? Everybody feeling good? You read pencils and papers or electronic device. You got your listing ready. All right. Get my timer up and I'll flip and we'll go. So just individual brainstorm, put the tools into action here. Timer has started. How might we improve the bathtub? Minutes left. If you're getting stuck, think about the tactics or find a big idea and find ways like that fitness equipment idea, find ways to then generate off maybe a broad idea if you find yourself getting stuck. All right, last minute. Keep on writing, keep generating. Quantity is king. Just pick a brand if you're stuck and try to think of ways that brand might solve the challenge. And seconds. Right, time pencils down. So how about who ended with 0 to 5? Police, 0 to 5. Anybody else? 0 to 5 ideas. How about 5 to 10? DeAndre, Marissa, 5 to 10. 10 to 15. Dan, Ron, but more than 15. Brian, 10, 15. More than 15. All right. Who had more than 20? And you might need to come off mute and just holler.
I did.
Jennifer, more than 20? You know what's more than 20? Did you find, so Jennifer, how many did you have at the end?
21.
21. So how did that feel? And just jump in from an open perspective. How did the 3 minutes feel? The first 3 minutes, I think a couple of you got the feedback that felt like an excruciating long time. Was the second 3 minutes feel just as long? Did it fly by this time? Give me some feedback on how the time felt.
Definitely went a little faster.
This is Gina. I came out of the gate faster.
Okay.
With a goal in mind to increase my numbers. But then I felt a little pressure because before I had 8, and when I got to 8 on this page, I felt stuck.
Interesting. Lucas, were you about to say something? No, sorry. So you come on.
Gina,
Yes.
what tactic did you try and use when you got to 8 and felt stuck? Did you try and look at it from a different angle?
Yes, I visualized the tub and thought about how I inverted the brick. So what could I do? How could I think out of the traditional norm?
Okay.
How many got fewer ideas than the first time through? At least you got fewer ideas. You mind sharing just maybe get you off mute there. Yeah, what were your thoughts on the brick versus the bathtub?
thought personally that the brick was easier to come up with ideas for. I don't know why, but it's also having a time limit for me kind of adds pressure. And so I don't feel like I can come up with as many ideas.
Yeah. So that's fair. Yeah, this was kind of an artificial, right? Because we're at 12:57. You're a little bit of an artificial time limit. And you may have objects where it's just a little more difficult to, you're just maybe not as familiar with it, or it just doesn't naturally lend itself to ideation, which is why team ideation is fantastic. Did anybody use a particular tactic? I don't know if this is on the debrief screen, but anybody use a particular tactic that we taught, whether it was blitz or building on ideas or the, what would famous person do? And how did that work for you?
I kind of took it from like a different perspective, not so much a famous person, but like having kids. I'm like, what would a mom want to see in a bathtub, right? For her kids and the safety. So kind of looking at it from a different perspective there.
That's fantastic. So yeah, from kids.
I
yeah,
used
safety.
what don't I like about this kind of bathtub?
And then you fixed it, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to fix things I didn't like. Like I hate getting into them. I'm afraid they'll slip, They don't have a sprayer that I like, those kind of things.
Nice. So yeah, your own user experience, which I think Poppy talked a little bit about yesterday. So I know we're up against it. Beth, do you want to close us out real quick?
That's fine. I wish we had just a little bit more time to talk about some of the ideas for the bathtub. I know when I did this exercise, we created a self-cleaning bathtub. I think at one time somebody said it could fly. So, there was a lot of different things. Mark and I we've both done these exercises at different times or whatnot. So I wish we had a little more time to see what some of the interesting things you guys came up with. But we don't, and I know your time is valuable. So we have with 1 minute left. Do you guys have any comments, anything you want to share with us before you go? Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to say this is great for me because I think we just get stuck, and I think COVID and everything has got us to either we tunnel vision or we think out of the box because we hate it. But just for creativity's sake, this has been an awesome thing for me, especially since I'm a linear thinker. It's allowed me to look at something from a different perspective.
I appreciate that. And it gives you permission to be creative, even when the problem itself doesn't necessarily sound like it needs a creative artsy touch.
I think one thing, I just came from some of our students, and we have a great big skywalk where a lot of the students hang out and study and stuff. And that's where some of our students who are working on this competition are from. And one of the groups that I was dealing with was so amazed how one of the communities was actually implementing one of our ideas, but we didn't even place in that one. And so we were talking about sometimes it isn't the content, it's we must have delivered it wrong. It wasn't flashy enough. It wasn't exciting enough. It was a very basic kind of a plan, but it's just kind of interesting. How did they pick the plan that they didn't like? How are they implementing the plan they didn't like?
That's really good. I think, Professor, that leads into Thursday's session where Poppy from the Indie Design Experience will come back, and Indie Design Collaborative come back and talk about like designing the right thing and pitching, or designing the thing right and really pitching that, because you're right, sometimes in the way you communicate that idea makes a lot of the difference. So one of the things we didn't even talk about is having wildcards in. And so like if you need a wildcard, if you're stuck generating, you've got Beth's contact, my contact, sometimes bringing in somebody who's not familiar with it to throw in the elephant idea, so to speak, right? We pop in, can pop out and just, help you during this week if you're at a brainstorming sticking point. So Beth, I'll say on my end, thank you for presenting kind coming here today and presenting to the group of Flipping Finance Challenge Innovators. This hits at a perfect time when everyone's kind of in that ideation stage, working on their solutions. So thank you, Beth, and thank you all the innovators on behalf of the Bond Bank.
Good luck to you all. It was
Thank you. So enjoyed this. Time went by so fast.
Thank you.
Thank you.